So let's talk video. Are you doing it? And if you're not, what's keeping you from doing it? Have you considered that you might be overthinking what you have to do to make it work? I wanted to talk a little bit about this because you may not have to worry, at least not to the extent you might be worrying about how perfect everything has to be. Earlier this year, Alex Wren, who is the senior content lead at LinkedIn, talked with Perna Virji, who is the principal consultant at LinkedIn and a best-selling author of High Impact Content Marketing, about creating high impact video. And it was primarily for B2B, but I think in this particular clip, this could apply to any type of video related to business and something you can think about. Because one of the things she said was to not obsess about being too perfect and what to do instead.
People might sometimes think that, oh, if I have to create video, it has to be the most ultimate, like studio produced, Hollywood perfect video. But that's not the case. Sometimes, if it's very overly produced, you can take away from that authentic connection feel, right? To really connect, especially if you are doing it for personal branding or thought leadership way, you want your audience to connect with you, to feel your essence and get to know you. So don't worry about doing anything super hi-fi. You just talk to your audience as if you're talking to your friend and you'll do well. And while both lo-fi or like low produced and high produced videos can both do well on the platform, two things to keep in mind. One, use the vertical format. Don't do the horizontal videos. The vertical formats do really well. And second is just make sure that your video is very clear. So even if it's lo-fi, you want to make sure that the sound is very clear to hear and then the video is not pixelated in any way and it's very clear.
What this makes me think of is Amy Porterfield. She's been a leading, if not the leading expert on Facebook marketing for a long time. And I remember when Amy decided to launch her first podcast, and she already had this very strong reputation in the industry. So it would be very easy for her to create a podcast and make sure everything's perfect because there's so much on the line, right? And I remember after her first few episodes, she came out and said, well, I've heard feedback from my audience, and you all are telling me to quit sounding so polished, because she was doing the very thing that I just said I'm not a fan of, where it was like, oh, we got to make sure I sound perfect, take out all the ums and uhs and all these things, and just make it sound perfect, like I know what I'm talking about, which she can obviously do without having to sound this polished, and that's the point. They told her to just talk like a human being. Human beings say human beings stop and start. They do all these things when they're talking. We don't want to hear somebody who sounds perfect that doesn't talk human. Here's another thing I will tell you. Maybe you don't have the best microphone, for example. Well, what if you have a program like Descript? If you're familiar with Descript has this thing where after you upload your video, you can hit this switch called Studio Sound, and it can make, kind of that echo sound that might happen if you're using a mic that might be built in the computer or something else, and it suddenly will sound 100 times better. And all you had to do was flip a switch. So we have tools now, and not to mention StreamYard and Riverside and these tools that take, a video that may not look great and make it look even better. I think it's still important that you're not using Zoom, that you're using one of their tools designed for this type of thing. But it can make it look better than it was recorded, the way we were seeing it. We have all these tools that are making that stuff look better for us. But I also think this idea of approaching your audience, and I think the important thing here, when she says things like talk to a good friend, like you're giving a best friend some advice, one of the things that should tell you is to talk to one person. How many videos do we hear now where somebody is saying, hey guys, at the beginning? A lot. And why? The reason why is we've heard other people open their videos with, hey guys. So it locks into our brain as that's how you open a video. And we say, hey guys. I mean, talking to that one person already changes your frame of mind. It already does, because you're thinking more of talking to someone versus everybody, like a broadcast. And I found this conversation on YouTube that I want to share with you, or at least a segment of it. It was a few months ago from a creator called Alexander the Create. See what he did there? And another creator named Daya, who had just gained 100,000 subscribers in the last 12 months and is making six figures from content creation. She said that everything changed for her channel from an engagement and subscriber and success standpoint after she quit trying to perfectly stage everything from, scripting all her words and making everything look perfect and like a, presentation in a studio, and things like that. And she said that she would instead talk to the camera in a casual fashion, in a casual setting, as if the person in front of her was her best friend.
What is your mindset when you are talking to camera? Like what's going through your head?
I always write or speak as if I'm talking to my best friend. And it's always like my best friend is like smart, kind, funny, creative, ambitious, all these things, right? Because I feel like sometimes people say, yeah, talk to a real person, but it's different when it's your best friend. And it's like, okay, she's smart. She doesn't want to be talked to. Like sometimes I feel like YouTubers kind of talk in a way that's like making the audience feel kind of like maybe they're stupid or something. And I'm just like, that's not the vibe. When I get stuck or when I feel like I'm starting to lose who I'm talking to, I'm like, okay, let me just pretend like she just asked me this question and I'm just responding to her.
There was one video where I think you were like scratching your face or something, like you're like getting hair out of your face, but like even in the intro of the video, it was literally, I felt like I was in the living room and you were just like, yeah, so like, I want to tell you about this concept we've got of like really, really fresh. It was very endearing. And to me, it made you stand out in a way. It's funny because like, now you might go away and think about this. I got to like brush my hair out of my face.
Actually, I'm like, I'm going to engineer this. Yeah.
I think that's really important. I think that when it comes to content creation, people think they need to be so professional. So they're like, put every hair in place and then and then it's almost like a robotic tendency comes out because they'll be like, right, everything's perfect now. Okay. In this video, we're going to talk about this and this and this and this. It's the opposite of the vibe of like, I'm just sort of nestling into the sofa and I can't wait to like, have a chat with you about something.
We really do live in a day and age where you don't have to be perfect. In fact, Marcus Sheridan not long ago made this point that AI is trying so hard to make everything perfect and look perfect and do it so fast. And that there's this known element in the audience that is getting frustrated with just how companies are saying, oh, just let AI do it or put AI to work and make this content and put it in front of somebody and they'll do whatever we want them to do. That people are looking for examples of whether or not a company is using AI because there's this feeling with some consumers that that content is being made in a lazy way or to fool them or just to get something out of them and not really connect with them. That Marcus was saying that something that may end up differentiating us to make a connection is the imperfection, because AI is getting, is pretty good at making things look pretty perfect and they're supposedly going to get better. So some of those imperfections that we can highlight when we're just trying to have a conversation with somebody through digital marketing, through content online, those might be the humanized things that differentiate us.